Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV in a new edition of our online interview series. And yeah, we are really happy. For the first time, we have Koby Kushner here, the metals and mining analyst, but with a focus on lithium from Red Cloud Securities. Welcome and good morning to Canada. How are you, Koby?
Good morning. Well, good evening for you. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Always highly appreciated, because I know you guys as analysts have a ton of work on the desk normally. And especially in these times with shaky metal prices going up and down, and with supply demand totally out of any balances, what we can imagine from the physical side, of course, it's getting really interested. And we want to talk today about lithium, because lithium is in high demand. The e-mobility is, yeah, I would say like a tsunami. You cannot hold it. The only question is, how high is the wave? And yeah, let's dig into it. What's your view, shortly said, on the lithium market today?
Lithium market today. Okay. Well, I think, broadly speaking, bottom line is that we need more lithium, right? We don't have enough reserves currently. We need more exploration in order to delineate more reserves. And, in order to do that, we need to fund more exploration, which is happening. We potentially need unconventional type of deposits to come online. But yeah, bottom line is that there's a gap between supply and demand. That gap is set to continue to widen. The fundamental issue in the lithium supply chain, in my view, is that the timeline to bringing on new battery capacity to fuel mostly the EV revolution that's here, but really just battery energy storage in general. The timeline to bringing on new battery capacity is much, much shorter than the timeline to bringing on a new mine. So because we've been investing in the wrong side of the supply chain, that, starting with battery capacity, now we're scrambling for raw materials. We're scrambling for the lithium. So that gap is set to continue to widen with time. So we need more lithium. And as a response to that, we've seen prices skyrocket over the last couple of years, of course. There's some volatility in the markets as expected. But still, to have a commodity go, over 10x in 1 to 2 years is, basically unheard of.
What is your experience? Because I think also this is one of the real big bottlenecks. We saw in the last years, I remember some presentations from companies like Millennial Lithium. They were bought, I think, 2 years ago. And I saw there in the presentation, there was like the graph. This is planned capacity, let's say that high, yeah? But finally, this got online. What is the status today? Is it the same nightmare, I would call it?
I would say it's the same nightmare, yes. Hence why prices have totally exploded, right? 2022 saw a deficit. 2023, it looks like we might have a small surplus, but, when I say small, I'm talking somewhere ballpark 10,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent. But, then following that, we're going to go back in deficit. Things are going to look really rough by 2030. So yeah, it's I would say that fear is still there. I believe in the EV revolution. I believe it's here and it's happening, but I think the time to electrify everything might just take longer because of this bottleneck. But I don't think the demand is going away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing it the same way, because it's not only the EV revolution. If you go today, like into a Home Depot, or let's call it here the Obi or whatever, meaning like a construction market for private people, I have the feeling everything is electrified. And those small batteries, they also need lithium, yeah, because when you sell 2 million electric saws, that's also a nice amount, yeah, compared to cars. But the point to me is, as you said already, definitely the demand is much, much higher than the supply. Then we have those gigafactories. I think they are building next to us here to Germany, which is our neighbor here from Switzerland. They want to build a big one in Brandenburg. They want to build one in France. Yeah, I think there is one, two in Spain. So the question is really, for the next 3 to 5 years, I think that tsunami is really rolling faster of the EV wave. So how can they cope with the lithium supply? I mean, we have some lithium projects in Europe also. We are talking about even Austria and Spain. Yeah. Finland is the next one, like with Sibanye-Stillwater, with Calibre, for example. But that takes another, 3-4 years to bring them at least in production. So my question is, from where will that come? I mean, because if the lithium price goes to $200,000 a ton, it's lovely for investors, but then you can no longer afford maybe the battery.
Look, it's at the end of the day, very high lithium prices. It's not like lithium is, in the grand scheme of things, a big chunk of the cost of the product, right? Whether that's a cathode, but especially if it's the EV. So Tesla lowering its prices in China amongst record high lithium prices is just evidence of that. In the grand scheme of things, it's still a small amount. That being said, to answer your question, how can they cope? And I don't know. I think the answer might be that they need to invest upstream. They'll build these gigafactories, and that's great, but where are they going to get their supply from? Where are they going to get their lithium chemicals to build cathode? And where are the chemical companies getting their raw feed, especially in Europe, right? It's the other issue now is that we're seeing increased nationalization in the lithium supply chain.
I think Mexico is something like that, right?
Yeah. So Mexico, they decided to nationalize lithium, and they only have really one actual prospect, in my view, that has at least some kind of line of sight to production, and that's the Bacanora lithium clay project, which Ganfeng bought. Ganfeng Lithium, if anyone's going to figure out how to crack the clays, I think, in my view, it's probably going to be them. So now you have a government entity with, no offense to the Mexican government, but no expertise in lithium. And, they think that they can crack the code on it. So, I think nationalization is an issue as well. Not only Mexico, look at Canada. Last year, Canada forced Chinese divestment from 3 lithium junior companies. And then, Zimbabwe as well, they announced that they're banning lithium exports. So if anything, that's kind of a bullish signal on lithium, right? It's showing that governments realize, hey, we need to secure our own domestic supply chain. If you look at where lithium is produced, most of it is produced from chemicals are produced from China, mostly, but the raw material itself, most of that comes from Australia in hard rock form, and the other chunk of it mostly comes from the South American brine, so Chile and Argentina, and then there's some. Yeah, well, Bolivia actually doesn't produce lithium. They have a lot of it, but they don't produce it. But yeah, you're right in that lithium triangle. So it's very concentrated. The U.S. only has one lithium producer, that's Silver Peak, and it produces a negligible amount. And then Canada also only has one lithium producer. We don't know how much they produce, but presumably it's not a lot. It's from the Tanko mine, which is owned by Chinese Sinomine. And that lithium goes back over to China. So, it's the concerns, I think, are warranted. And in my view, it's a bullish signal to it's time we need to continue to invest more into lithium exploration.
Definitely. How do you see now the demand development? Because we saw let's say predictions which are saying, oh, already in 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years, at least 1 million tons of LCE. What is your view on that per annum?
Yeah, look, I don't forecast demand myself. I leave that to the experts. I usually rely on experts like like Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, for example.
Yeah.
So they have a much better handle of the supply chain than I do. So I don't. In my view, I guess I will say that the demand is real. I don't think things have exploded, and that makes people skeptical. But I don't think it's anything like the crypto craze. I don't think it's anything like the cannabis craze that we saw in Canada a few years back. If you ask your kids, what kind of car do you want to drive? There's a good chance they might say a Tesla. They might say an electric vehicle. And electric vehicles are really driving the majority of demand for lithium. So I'm not worried about demand destruction. And I'm also not worried about lithium getting phased out of batteries.
Okay, super. Let's go a little bit on the company side, because you are an analyst, yeah? So you look at companies. What companies are you preferring these days? Where do you see potential? Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, so broadly speaking, without mentioning names for now, I think the two biggest opportunities in the lithium space long term are grassroots exploration and unconventional deposits. And I'm going to touch on both. So starting with the grassroots hard rock exploration, the reason why I'm excited about it is because genuine grassroots exploration in the hard rock lithium space has not really been done until today. Right? So if you look at companies that are currently drilling these large pegmatite deposits, those pegmatites, most of them were found by accident. It was previously another project, Patriot's Corvette project. That was a gold project, right? I heard a story about one of the guys just having lunch on the pegmatite, and there was spodumene, and at the time they didn't care. So
wow.
Now why I'm excited is because imagine the opportunity now if we were to actually go out and deliberately try to find lithium pegmatites. And that's finally happening. So, I think there's a lot of discoveries that will be made even over this summer, but really over the next decade or so. There's going to be a lot more lithium discoveries because finally we're seeing companies invest in grassroots lithium exploration. The other thing I wanted to touch on is unconventional deposits. So,
yeah. What is that unconventional deposits?
Sure, maybe it's the wrong word to describe them, but it's deposits of lithium that are not yet commercially mined.
Okay.
Or at least methods of getting them out of the ground, it hasn't been done commercially yet. So, for example, lithium clays. I touched on Bacanora before. That's a lithium clay project.
Like in Nevada, for example.
Yeah, there's a lot of lithium clays in Nevada, and around Clayton Valley.
Exactly.
And even outside of it. Yeah, there's plenty of it. So, none of them have been commercially viable yet. But, there's never been more dollars being thrown at it. So it's a matter of, cracking the code on it. One of the fears on it, I guess the biggest knock really is the metallurgy and the use of reagents. In Nevada, water rights are an issue. It seems that, other companies that have a lot deeper pockets than I do are really throwing money at it, right? We saw it happen with Ioneer. We saw it happen, the Thacker Pass announcement and GM. a couple weeks back. So there is increasing faith going into the clays. And then the other type of deposit might be rather technology is DLE. And this is something I'm personally bullish on. So DLE stands for direct lithium extraction. So if we look at the brines in South America, how are they concentrating those brines, right? You start off with, call it 5,000 to 1,000 ppm lithium in these salars, these salt lakes. They drill a hole, they pump it out, and they store this brine in these large evaporation ponds. And they essentially just let the sun do its work. Now, let's move over to Canada, where you don't have this desert environment. Evaporation just won't work. So you need a new technology, and I say new, but it's not new. You need direct lithium extraction. Simple way to think about it is like a coffee filter, right? You put your proprietary coffee filter, call it the sorbent material or the membrane, in your filter. You run your brine through it, and your coffee beans are stuck on this filter, and you wash off the grinds and pretend those grinds are the lithium. Of course, the process is way more nuanced than that. It's not that simple. It's, for one, it's not really a physical reaction that causes it. Often it's chemical, like ion exchange or absorption. So, these technologies like solvent exchange, ion exchange, absorption, they've been around. Ion exchange, for example, that's used in about half of the world's uranium production. It's used in water. It's used to soften your water if you have hard water. So it just hasn't really been applied to lithium yet. The trick with DLE is that every technology needs to be very tailor-made to every brine, because brine chemistries vary, and therefore the technology has to vary as well, right? So, the process has its benefits potentially. So, you can look at, much faster extraction times, right? Potentially higher recoveries. I'm talking 90+% here, as opposed to some of the brines, which are about 60%. And that 60% recovery might take over a year, because you have to let it cook in these evaporation ponds for a long time. Whereas DLE, that can act in a matter of minutes to hours. So there's never been more money being thrown at DLE before. There's actually more technology companies out there trying to crack this than there are actual DLE resource brines out there, or at least resource developers that plan to use DLE. So I think there is a serious opportunity there. Places like Canada, Western Canada, the oil fields have a crap ton of lithium, right? Alberta and Saskatchewan. There's other places in the USA as well. Even in Germany, with Vulcan Energy, they're looking at a geothermal brine. So that's what I mean by unconventional brines. Brines that rely on DLE in order to get going. Why I think DLE is so disruptive, and I think about my time when I was a mining engineer in another life. When you're looking at a hard rock mine, and you're trying to put a mine plan around it, generally your production rate ends up being limited by the geometry of your ore body, right? And now, when you look at the evaporation brines, your bottleneck isn't so much the geometry; it's really your evaporation rate. Now, if you're looking at DLE, these bottlenecks don't apply. So if you want to scale up production, it could be a function of simply drilling more wells. So if there's anything that can solve this supply demand issue in the future, I think it's these unconventional types of deposits. And I blabbered on about this a lot, but to end things, I'll just say innovation comes out of necessity, right?
Absolutely.
Looking at the Canadian oil sands. People used to laugh at the idea of getting oil from sand, but now it's done.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, technology will drive us always forward. That is for sure. The question is, how long does it take? Can it be financed? And is it economical? I think this is the major question. I could imagine anything above $60,000 or $50,000 lithium per ton. Yeah, let's call it like that, or LCE. I mean, normally every project should work, right?
Yeah, any new project coming online in the next year, potentially 2 years, they're having less than 1 year payback period.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is insane, right? Like
that
doesn't happen often in mining.
Yeah, definitely. No, and my feeling is also, like you said, demand is growing faster than the supply can grow. And this is why I think also lithium prices will stay high. I think the times that lithium price will go back to 15,000, I think that is done for the next foreseeable future. Let's say the next 5 to 10 years, probably.
I agree with you. I think lithium prices, sure, we'll see. It's not a straight up trajectory. It might flatten out, but might even go down a little. It has come down 30%, which after going up, over 10 times.
10 times, yeah. Which was crazy, yeah. Absolutely.
You're still making record margins, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So yeah, I think we're gonna see higher prices for longer than people think. The rule, like high prices are the cure to high prices.
Yeah.
I don't think that yet applies to lithium. I think it will eventually, but it's going to take a long time to get there just because there's no idle supply.
Yeah, super. So time to look at good lithium stocks, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think there's time to look at good anything stocks in any market, right? Sometimes it makes sense to be counter-cyclical. But in this case, we're just talking about how prices are presumably going to be staying high. So I think now is also a good time. I agree.
Super. Perfect. Koby, thank you very much for your time. Hey, we made 22 minutes already. Unbelievable.
Awesome. Wow.
That's awesome. It was great talking to you. So we have obviously the same opinion. Lithium is hot, will stay hot. And a investment in lithium stocks makes probably some sense, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you want to find, my specific picks, we do post all of our research online. We don't charge anyone for it, but it does require a free login and password. So you could just go to redcloudresearch.com.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm having the login also, and I can assure you it's really worthwhile taking some time to go through all those researches. How many companies do you have? Like over 100, 150, I saw, right?
We've written on over 100 companies.
Yeah, over 100 companies.
More than just lithium, of course, but together our team, we've written on over 100 companies. So there's lots of companies to sift through.
Yeah. Super. All right, Koby, thank you very much for your time. All the best. And look forward to talk soon to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Koby Kushner, the metals and mining analyst of Red Cloud Securities. And Koby is also a lithium specialist, as you heard the last 22, 23 minutes. And it's a very, very interesting market because please don't forget it's a contract market. And here we really see supply and demand. When it is out of balance, then things happen like in the lithium market the last 2.5 years when the price made 10 times his way up. Now we have a little correction, as Koby said, approximately 30% down from the top, but still the lithium producers and the producers which are going this year, next year online, they will make a fortune. So time to have a look at good lithium shares, that's for sure. And check out Red Cloud Securities, the research website here. You just have to register and log in, and then you can enjoy all the analysis of the company. So thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.